the scoring's been up a little, but you can't really count that. They played against
Oh, come
Buffalo.
on. No. You can't do that. You can't do that. They're
Buffalo's so
3.4
bad.
goals per game. Welcome back to the Old Bull and Young Calf Boston Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Matt, and I'm here with my dad, Steve. And we got a, Thanksgiving dinner worth of ideas for you and segments today. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Dad, what do we have on the table for everybody?
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We're going to start off with the Bruins this week. We're going to give some quick hits and how they did in their last few games. And another spoiler alert, they remain on fire. I don't know how there's any meat left. It's just not strictly ashes because they've been singeing, scorching hot for, since the beginning of the season, but there's still more to burn on there. And then we're going to jump into the Boston Celtics. All right. And they survived game time against the Bucks. And, we have Jaylen Brown, want to comment on him and how he's doing lately because once again he was polarized for a while, but now he is back on track. And other Celtics thoughts we want to go over, and then we have number 3. We're going to do our little Frank the Tank Commander for Week 12. In other words, we are following the Tank and Patriots, and we're going to give you the key games that the other bums in the league that they're competing with for that high draft pick, who they could possibly beat remaining on their schedule. And those are huge games. Those are like our
Yeah.
Patriots playoff
Yeah.
games this year. So find out what those are. And then we have our betting expert, Anthony Wilger, his betting, and find out how he did last week and who he has this week. And then we're going to finish off the segment again with this time a little Price is Right Bruins edition. Old Bull versus the viewers. So my son Matt put this together. These are always a lot of fun and looking forward to that. And start us off, Matt.
Thanks, Dad. So, like my dad said, segment number 1, we're going to touch on the scorching hot Bruins. We're very excited for this team right here, and they really haven't broken stride for the most part. Last game meant a lot to me. It was somewhat therapeutic. Of course, getting out of the first round is really what me and my therapist are looking for this year from the Bruins. But beating the Panthers was a breath of fresh air. Seeing Matt Tkachuk, I'm pretty sure he take a face first tumble into to Olmark's butt. I don't know if he was the Panther that did that or what, but I was very happy to see that. We really came out with a lot of energy against them. Lightning putting up 4 goals against the Lightning. I know they're old and slow. The old bull bought on them kind of being over the hill earlier this year, but they still have a solid defensive core. It was in their house, scoring 4 goals on them. We did kind of choke a little bit in the end, but I'm really high on the Bruins right now. I'm very excited. The old bull mentioned some things a couple weeks ago that really stood out to me, and watching the game yesterday, our goalies are kind of standing on our head for us and saving some games, and it's more apparent with every game. My buddy and Andrew and I kind of went through and we tried to see. Sadly, online there's not too much about scoring chances, right? And when you're watching the broadcast, up on the scoreboard, it'll say shots on goal, and then sometimes it'll pop out and say scoring chances, right? Not like a shot from the blue line where the goal, but I'm trying to find metrics on that, and I think the Bruins, like my dad alluded to, a couple weeks ago, are giving up a lot of scoring chances, and I'd imagine our goals expected versus goals allowed is probably pretty substantial. Dad, have you noticed anything on these Bruins? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, back when I was doing that research, I could not find scoring chances to save my life,
Where are
and I
they?
just remember, I don't know, the Bruins were like almost 20th in the league in rebounds given up, block shots, and I forgot, oh, just shots on goal.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, how is that possible when they're just destroying everyone in goals against? And so I feel like that take for me is absolutely coming true because I don't have any new stats, but watching these games, our goalies are just they're superhuman. We are giving up, elite scoring chances and they're just making 10 bell saves like left and right. And you can't survive like this in the playoffs. They have to buckle down better on defense. And my goodness, and it's almost like Allmark, his he felt like his position was threatened because man, once again, he's back to being awesome like he was last year. And, now we have him and Swayman, who really has been the best goalie in the league this year, just completely on top of their game, saving our butts in a lot of cases. Poor Swayman, he absolutely was super dynamic the first two periods against the Lightning, keeping us in that game. The first goal shouldn't have counted. The first Lightning guy pushed him into the net with his
Yeah,
with his
yeah,
skate, and then the follow up guy comes in and hits it. I'm like, well, how are they allowing that?
yep,
And then the Bruins give up a power play goal at the very end of the second period after Swayman was just like superhuman, very frustrating. Then of course you got Zaka can't clear the damn puck, 5 seconds left, because he's trying to make a pass and blew that. But again, like you said, Matt, three tough games, 5 points, man. I mean, think of how good they can be if they buckle down these other things and pick up the scoring a little bit.
yeah, yeah. And I think at this point we can get the duck boats ready. You know why? The Boston Bruins are averaging 3.5 goals a game. So the old bull is probably elevating them now to elite status. Is that true? Are they considered elite?
They are now because the scoring has been up.
Get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
I'm still not happy with Patrick's demotion. I think that's going to
Yeah,
burn him
yeah,
in the long run. He played 10 damn minutes against the Lightning, and that kid has still not done anything to make me go, yeah, I can see why they cut down on his minutes, man. He's turnover puck, he's blowing scoring chances, he's not picking up his man on the defense. Nope, all of that is not true. He's doing his job. I mean, what I'm hoping is he's kind of maybe battling a little fatigue that we don't know about, and the Bruins are just kind of like chopping his minutes up a
yep,
little bit to get him rested and get him back up. Because what a damn shame if that's the case. Because that
yep,
kid he can stick in on a phone booth. He's always creating something. And again, we have freaking Heinen with him. I'm not going to get back on that rant, but I'm
yeah,
not happy about that. You
yep,
know, and I don't want to root for the Bruins scoring to dip, so they give that kid back up to the top six. But for the long run, I think it might
yeah.
be best.
Yeah, and I think you've been pretty much on point so far this season with the Bruins. And one of the things you mentioned was where Poitras is appearing on that power play, right? And I think one of the power plays that stood out to me against the Panthers, Poitras came in with 32 seconds left in the power play. We hadn't even gotten really a clean zone entry, and we get our first clean zone entry with him on the ice and that second unit. It's like now the power play is basically over. We get one of our best opportunities of the power play, like of that entire game, with him on the ice, and then sure enough, like it's really frustrating to see, right? Like, the kid has earned, I feel like shorthanded time on ice. He's earned it in the way that like he's causing it. I think he's drawn at least two penalties over these past three games by just being active, right? Being there, being in the right spot at the right time, and somebody having to force something that they don't want to stop him, right? So it's a real bummer that he doesn't get to enjoy the power plays that he's causing, right? Montgomery's really got to be like, okay, who was interfered with, to make this a shorthanded situation, and you don't even put him on the ice, so it is really disappointing. He did get two shots against the Panthers, which is pretty awesome. He did get a point against the Panthers, but like you said, would love to see him on the ice more. 12 minutes is definitely lower than what we were getting earlier in the season, and there's really not too much rhyme or reason for it. It would be great to kind of watch the game. And Lohrei, I did see some faltering from him. You mentioned he had a really good pass for the first goal in one of his games, but when he's out there, he had that hold on the Panthers player at one point. He just couldn't get turned around, and it's like, okay, I get it. I get why Lohrei, might get demoted, but it's like Poitras, I just don't see it at all. So completely agree with you there. But I mean, we really are splitting hairs with these Bruins, right? I mean, there's not too much to complain about. They're kind of where you and I couldn't even imagine them being, um, and it feels awesome, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know why they can't try that strategy they used to do where they had Krejci on the point. Have McAvoy. The first power play unit should be McAvoy, Marchand, Pasternak, Potter, and Zaka. Put one of those, put one of
Yeah,
those guys on the point like you used to do with Krejci. and those are your most creative guys, your most skilled guys. See what that looks like. I like Van Riemsdyk. I do. I mean, I do, but he's just good for clogging up the middle and tipping pucks, which I'm not saying is not important on the playoffs. I mean, sorry, on the power play, but it's only important if you get set up in the zone and you move the puck around and you actually get shots off and not blocked by defenders. And all that goes well. Yeah, it's great to have a guy clogging up the middle, screening the goalie, tipping pucks in, but he doesn't offer much as far as actual skills go. I would like to
Yeah.
just see what it looks like with the first power play unit. But
Yeah.
anyway.
And with that, like you said, Zaka, Patra, you have two centers out there. Both of them around 50% face-off percentage. Zaka's at 50 exactly, with 131. I'm sorry, 262 total face-offs, and then Patra's at 42% with somewhere around like 150 total face-offs. So, yeah, I was like, maybe that's it. Maybe he's really bad at face-offs, and that's why he's not out there and he's not a center. But it's like, no, he's pretty good. 42% is not that
No,
bad, especially for how small
no.
he is. So, yeah, hopefully we get a dose of Patra in these upcoming games. I know between now and the next podcast, we have Friday at home versus Detroit. So that's tomorrow. This podcast will probably be out by then. We'll know the results of that. Saturday against New York, that's a big game. And then Monday versus Columbus. So real quick, Dad, we can bounce back, and I know you want to talk about one of these teams, right? So for Detroit, I
Yes.
think Detroit has really cooled off. We've kind of siphoned the fire off of them that they kind of started the season with. I think we beat Detroit at home. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Detroit, they're coming back down to earth. Yeah, they're young. They've been drafting high for a while because they've been terrible forever. So those young players pop for a little bit at first. Their scoring was really high, and but ultimately the NHL it's a veterans like the NBA. The veterans reign supreme, and ultimately that's going to come back and catch up with you. And team like that is starting to come back down to earth. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm not that worried about Detroit. We should handle them pretty easily.
Yeah, I think the next game is, a very interesting game for anybody who enjoys hockey. Two of some of the top teams in the league, the New York Rangers, right? We're going into their house, and it's actually one of the few places where the tickets are more expensive than the Garden. I just realized that. So they're 13-3-1. They
Mhm.
did lose to the Stars 2 games ago. They're playing tomorrow as well. So I think they're going to be on a back-to-back just like us. Um, it looks like they're going to Philly and then have to come back. It looks like for us, we're playing in Boston and then we have to go to New York. I know there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes into the traveling. I'm hoping we win this. I think I wouldn't be surprised if we come out of this with 1 point only. What about you, Dad? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was telling you before we even started airing this that man, the Rangers are no joke, right? They just won't go away. Every time I check the box score, they're winning. They're just that first overall pick, Lafreniere. He hasn't even really popped yet. He's been pretty good, but this is his third season. This is usually the season where there's a jump. So if that kid jumps along with the rest of that lineup, and they're the only team in the league that I feel like is even in the same universe
Stratosphere?
with
Yeah.
goaltending. Their goaltending is good. It's not Swayman Omar good, but man, it's close. So they're the only, and then they have Fox on defense. So they got a elite pucks moving defenseman who can score as well. So they're no joke. And that's going to be. I'm looking forward to that one. I want to see how they stack up against the Rangers because I think right now they're our chief competition to get out of the conference. And so we'll see how that goes. Both teams are on the back to back, like you said. It is on their home ice, but in hockey, doesn't matter much.
So who do you think? What do you think's the going to be the decision on that game? Tie, win, loss for the Bruins?
Um, I think they're. I mean, I think they're probably going to end up losing that game. I mean,
Dang.
just because
Second one of the
that's
season.
again. Yeah. So it's right now the Bruins are top dog. That's everyone's Stanley Cup matchup. They're gonna get everyone's best. The Lightning haven't, they've been mediocre all year, and then you could tell they look like they were playing a playoff game the way they tried their hardest the other day. So, that's
Yeah.
part of being the king. Yeah, you're gonna get everyone's best shot. So I mean, I hope I'm wrong. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of best shots, we're then going to be going to Columbus on Monday, right? And so that's a really bad team, 5-11-4, but it's a team who has the opportunity to score a lot. They just scored 7 goals in the Blackhawks. They were on a massive losing streak prior to that, but they also give up a ton of goals. So I'm hopeful we don't play down to that team. Again, I think we might win, possibly tie against the Rangers. Then we go, travel to Columbus. Maybe we sleepwalk there. We'll see. If we lose to the Rangers, I think we beat Columbus. If we win against the Rangers, I get much more concerned about this Columbus game. What are your thoughts on that?
It could be a trap game, but these are the teams I never worry about when the Bruins, because the Bruins are so veteran heavy. They're so they're sound, on all three levels. Even though I harp on the defense a little bit, they're still better than most teams as far as defense goes. Teams like Columbus, they just don't have the goaltending, the defense, and the discipline. So, yep, they can rack up some points against other bum teams, but like Chicago, but they're not going to do that against the Bruins. The Bruins have the goaltending, in the defense in front of them. So that's going to be cut in half, and they're a young team that's going to make mistakes, and the Bruins will capitalize. So I'm not
Yeah,
that worried about that game.
yeah. So I feel like we've, really been able to cover the Bruins here. I'm excited for this upcoming week in the Bruins. I'm excited to watch some hockey tomorrow and the Celtics, and we're going to move on to the Celtics here. A nice matinee game versus the Red Wings. So we're going to be tuning into that. Hopefully our predictions are right, and it is a Bruins win. So yeah, any final thoughts on the Bruins, Dad, or can we move on to the Celtics?
No, let's move on to the Seas.
All right. So, like my dad said, we're going to move on to segment number 2. Celtics had a big week, long road trip. I think 4 straight the road games. You could tell it was kind of getting to them at the end there, in those last 2 games, a bit too close for comfort. And then, of course, we ended up pooping our pants and losing to a freaking loser, Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges, you're a complete loser. But Dad, do you want to kind of lead us off here with your, first Celtics thought?
Yeah, again, it's hard to complain. They're freaking 12-3, right?
Yep.
And it's it's been noticeable now that Drew Holiday's struggling as far as offense goes. He's still doing everything else, defense, the passing, rebounding, amazing, all important stuff. He's actually struggling, and I think it's simply because his offensive numbers are not there, and he probably feels like he's not doing his part for the team. So I feel like he's starting to force some things, force some passes, force some shots. You know, his so he just needs to relax, let the game come to him. All those stupid cliche things. I hope he's not I hope he's not stressing about it, because it's just about winning games, and just keep gelling with the team. He's shooting like 30. Him, Porzingis, and Pritchard. They're all shooting 33% or less from three. That's that's not good, right? You know, think about how well this team is going to do when those numbers start coming up a little, and they will. Those three are better than that. Think of how much room will be on the floor for Tatum and Brown to operate when their three-pointers start coming up. Think of all the room for activities that they can just march around the court, you know, alley-oops, dunking. Brown and Porzingis have developing some real chemistry. That's been really nice to see. And, hopefully they continue to build on that. All they need to do is start hitting their threes a tick better, and that's just going to open everything up.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it, right, and you kind of alluded to it. Brown and Porzingis kind of had a heart to heart and looked at each other and just said, "Did we just become best friends?" And they made bunk beds.
Look at all this floor space.
So
We
much,
do aerobics in here.
so many activities.
Do step class.
It's making my head spin how many activities we can do.
Play Army Man.
Yeah.
And those bunk beds have led to
Yes.
a kind of a resurgence in surgeons. Of course, Jaylen Brown, right? You mentioned he has been kind of polarizing for a few games, and people just overreacting to, what is a great player, right? In his assist numbers last game, I think he had 8 assists. That
Yes.
pick and roll between him and
Amazing.
Porzingis, yeah, him and Porzingis is one of the best pick and roll teams. I'm sorry, duo in the NBA. Teams are having a really hard time, and You did mention Porzingis' 3-point percentage has really dropped a lot, and it is super concerning.
Yeah.
32.9% is a bummer considering almost every three-pointer he's taken since we last spoke when he was close to 40 something has been wide
Yeah.
open. He doesn't take contested threes, so he has to hit those so that combo can really continue to be the talk of the league that it is. And now touching on your first comment about Drew Holiday, I think you're faulting him a little bit for doing exactly what he's supposed to do. But I think you are right in one thing, that he needs to hit his open threes. He's been the same way. Almost every time he's shooting a three-pointer, there's nobody within 6 to 7 feet of him. I have not seen him take a three-pointer with someone's hand in his face, I think, once this season. I watch every single game. So he needs to hit those. And that's what I've been kind of feeling as I watch a lot of these games. It's like, man, if we just hit our open threes, we are going to be blowing out these teams. We left 6 points on the board at one point against the Bucks because we missed 2 wide open threes after making a great defensive stop. So
Yes.
Drew Holiday, he's attempting fewer shots than he's ever attempted in the NBA. He's has the lower assist number than he has ever had in the NBA. But you know, at the same time, he's rebounding at a higher level than he ever has. He's blocking at a higher level than he ever has. He's never been at 1 block per game, and right now that's where he's at. His steals are down. He's about half of what he usually is, but a lot of teams aren't even going at him, and he's been having some tough assignments with these bigs. And his turnover
Yeah.
numbers are down, and they're kind of inflated because that 7 turnover game that the old bull mentioned to me prior to the podcast. He did have a 7 turnover game against the Hornets, but his turnovers total per game is 2.1, which is lower than his entire career. So I know we're not all Drew Holiday savants, right? We don't know what he is or isn't. We've only watched him against us, right? And he has hit those wide open threes against us. And I think we're all kind of trying to figure out what is the everyday Drew Holiday player and what can he bring to the Celtics. I think at a minimum, he's got to up those 3-pointers. So yeah, I totally agree, Dad. And I think one of the things that I want to touch on is our situational basketball. For the most part, we've done pretty well. You mentioned surviving Dame time, right? And I think at one point, Damian Lillard had the ball dribbling down the court. I think this was at the end of the second quarter, end of the third quarter. I'm not 100% sure, but people are, Hauser was playing off of him, and Hauser, he just walks up. He walks like 4 feet from the 3-point line, shoots it, makes it in. Opportunity for a 2-for-1. You got to get up on him. You got to play him tight. Mazzulla alluded to this in his post-game press conference. Is against the Hornets and against the Bucks, they have to defend the 3-point line late in the game more aggressively, especially when you have these big leads. A lot of these teams are going to fall into that trap that the bad Celtic, when we were at our worst last season, that we did, right? You're down by 9 with 3 minutes to go and you think you got to start chucking. So we got to defend that 3-point line. It was a real disappointment that Damian Lillard had as much space as he did. And it was super sweet to see him, hit the front of the rim with that dunk. How embarrassing.
Yeah.
It did overshadow his 11 points in like the final 2 minutes, which was, really scary. He had 2 threes, the 2 insane layups, and he had that technical
That's
foul.
what he does.
Yeah. And he had that technical foul, which was complete garbage. That should have been a foul on him. So shame on the refs. The refs overall that game were absolutely horrendous. Brook Lopez laying on top of our guys. He could do whatever he wanted. It was overall an incredibly frustrating game at the end. And I think one of the big things that stood out is the Bucks covered the spread, the plus 5.5 with that final shot. And it seemed like the refs were kind of going that way. And Damian Lillard certainly helped, but he was not a factor up to that point. Up prior to that, he had a couple really bad turnovers too. What are your thoughts on Dame time, Brad? I mean, Dad, in the first Bucks Celtics clash?
Yeah, it's no surprising, the Dame time thing, that's real. That's why a lot of Boston fans wanted him here because, we struggle at the end of games and he just, he is really clutch. So, it was nice that we held him to 1 to 8 3-point shooting for the whole game. And then, kind of lit us up at the end and we did enough to hold on. The Celtics offense wasn't great in the last 4 minutes like it had been all season. That's been my big thing that I've been focusing on after how bad it's been the last few years. Hey, can't do it every time, I guess. You're going to have an off night, but they did enough to win. I really did like that They spread the floor, and there was one key sequence at the end where Tatum just bullied his way to the hoop. He got absolutely body checked, and he got two key free throws out of it. He wasn't going to be denied. It wasn't some crazy fall away three. He did take a couple of hero shots. It wasn't crazy about towards the end. So I did like that. I like that they held on for the win, and yeah, I'm not, man, Middleton just does not look right. I'm
Told
just
you.
not
I
as worried
told you.
about the Bucks.
Yep.
You were right about that, Matt. I'm not worried about the Bucks, which brings me to something I want to touch on with Matt. I feel like there is a new team that worries me, and that is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I
Wow.
feel like the Cleveland
Really?
Cavaliers, yep, now that they got Garland back, and with their size and Mitchell, and I'm telling you, we had a problem with them last year. And they I'm telling you, they're going to be a struggle. You'll see. I'm actually worried more about them than I am the Bucks and the Sixers now,
Wow.
because they've gotten it. They've gotten their crap together, and once they're fully healthy and they have Josh Allen too, watch out. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it, and I think it was probably because they had a slow start. Slow start. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They did lose their last game against the Heat. But prior to that, they did beat the 76ers and they did beat the Nuggets, right? Nuggets have been, somewhat Nuggets are, people are all over them this year. They think they're unstoppable, which is a bit frustrating, but they did beat them. This offseason they added Niang, they added Strus, 3-point
Yep.
shooting on the outside. So yeah, I mean, I could see it.
In the Heat, that loss against the Heat, they were missing Mitchell.
They were.
Keep that in mind. Their best
Yeah,
player.
I think you might be onto something. They played us really tough last year. I don't know if you recall, but we had like we had an overtime game early in the season.
The
Um,
Grant Williams, he missed two free throws.
all right,
That
but
would have won the game if he hit one.
yeah, right. He said he's gonna make both, right? I'm gonna make both, and he missed both,
Yeah.
and then he ended. I don't know if he hit a free throw for the next like 10 free throws after that, but I'm gonna give some wisdom to the old
Right.
bull that the old bull gave to me, right? And this kind of pertains similar to how you talk about the Magic is I'm curious how we're gonna play against them with our new lineup when it's not Grant Williams out there, when it's Derek White, Drew Holiday, Tatum Brown, and Porzingis. Is Garland and Mitchell gonna give us as much fuss, right? Or are they gonna get the locked down? So I'm gonna pump the brakes on being too afraid of them because I want to see how we play against them. I really haven't disliked any matchup for us this season. Um, so far so good. I think Horford has really brought a lot to the team when it comes to Embiid and Giannis, and he's proven he could still be those guys'
Lately.
fathers, right?
Yeah.
Even though
He's
he's
been the old Horford. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really curious. I think prior to the podcast starting, we did talk about the Celtics schedule going forward, and they do have back-to-back games against Cleveland. I think in December. So both of those being at home. So I think after those two games, we'll really have a good idea on how the matchup works between us and them. So yeah, good call it with Cleveland. Now, speaking of playing more games, the future schedule, we'll go right to another one of yours. The in-season tournament. Do you have any thoughts on that, Dad? I know you mentioned that.
I mean, some of the players are buying in. Some of the fans like it. I'm just going to put this out there. I I don't care for it. It means nothing to me. And if you're in the championship, that means you play an extra game. And they're probably going to try. They're probably going to play real minutes and try. Want nothing to do with that. I hope when it goes to single elimination, I hope they lose one of those games and just get knocked out of that stupid thing. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to play one extra game where the players are actually probably trying to get that money and to get that win. I don't want it. That would be a disaster if something ever happened in that game, and no, thank you. I mean, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't know
Yeah,
how you feel about it.
it's tough, right? I think that it's gonna go away. I think it's gonna it's an experiment, but 500K a player is nice, but the real big players really don't that doesn't really matter too much for them. Um, I like the idea. But for me, it's not like baseball, right? Regular season games are important to me. You don't have to add any spice to it. So I guess it's really for the, was it casual NBA fan? And I haven't heard it bring any casual NBA fans in. And if anything, a lot of the diehard NBA fans who watch every game, whether it's in season or not, are of the same mindset you and I are, which, yeah, it's there, and I am concerned about what you said about the extra game. Also, I need to figure out how this works, but if we progress, does that mean we play better teams, right? So if we lose, do we then get a bunch of chumps that maybe we get to rest some guys, right? Because in the to be decided games, when it gets to that point, I'd have to kind of wrap my head around it a bit more. But I don't want the in-season tournament to derail us from, Banner 18, which is our real goal. Now, my biggest problem, by far and away, with in-season tournament are those bleeping courts. Jaylen Brown fell so much. I've been seeing it all over the NBA, and when I watch just games casually, these guys are slipping everywhere. I don't know how Adam Silver can go to sleep at night and then like be ready for they're waiting. Someone's going to tear their ACL, and then they're going to do away with the courts. But sadly, somebody has that domino has to fall. Have you noticed those trips and slips? It's
Yeah.
I would that's like I wouldn't even play basketball in those conditions. On a wet court, that's what it seems like. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they should scrap that part immediately. That's a real thing. That's been
Yes,
a complaint all over the league. They should just scrap that immediately. I mean, there's no other debate about it. The flashy courts and all that blah blah blah. No, I
use a
mean, what
different
does that
ball.
really do? Does that
Yeah,
Yeah, it's no, there's no debate there. Get rid of that crap because, oh man, if we lose a player, he pulled his groin a little bit, Jaylen Brown, at the end of that game,
yep.
and
He's
because
on
he
the injury
slept,
report
and it's
now.
like,
He's
uh,
questionable
yeah,
tomorrow.
because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's,
I want nothing
it's
to do with it. So
yeah.
anyway,
Yep.
yeah,
All right, and you know, big game tomorrow. The podcast will have dropped before then. Hopefully, we're not weeping about Orlando. It's still
uh,
our kryptonite.
we-
Hopefully, the old Bulls
we've
right,
been there,
and
bitch.
yeah, they
Yeah,
have.
we've been
You know,
there,
I
little bitch. Yeah,
I I paid money to watch us get whooped by Orlando last year live. So I'm really nervous for this game. Hopefully, like the old bull predicts, it's a different Celtics team, and we show these guys how it's done.
yeah,
Um, so
absolutely.
so yeah, we'll move on. I think, Dad. Any final thoughts on the Celtics or no? You good?
No, let's move on to the Frank the Tank.
Yeah. You just get in the tank, or the tank you get it and you lift the hatch over your head. That's let's get on this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just review the schedule and share with you guys games to look out for. Right. It's kind of like playing fantasy football. Uh, the reality is the Patriots for the future for us fans. Right. It might not be this way for the players. The only way for the franchise to gain some success is to get a better draft pick. We're not winning the Super Bowl this year, everybody. Hate to break it to you. If that makes you hate us, that makes you hate us. So the only benefit is get the best draft pick possible. So that's what we're hopeful for, and then we're hopeful we hit on it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to talk about the schedule. My dad's going to let us know the top priority games that we should be watching and hoping for winner or loser. All right.
All right, so Commander Frank the Tank at your service. Here we go. So we have some games this week that are really important to the Patriots draft status. Right now, they are the third pick in the league. I would love to see them get to two. As far as I'm concerned, they get to two, they're getting a franchise quarterback because there are some good ones in this draft. We will go over that at some point, but for now, we're going to focus on some key games. The Bears at the Vikings. Don't like that one bit. Vikings are at home. They're still fighting for a playoff spot. I just feel like there's not much hope there. So unfortunately, as much as we'd like the Bears to win, that's not going to happen. But Cardinals, they're at home against the Rams, right? You'd think, the Rams aren't that good this year, right?
Beat
They
up,
kind of
super
still
beat up.
living off their Super Bowl. Super Bowl reputation. They are crazy beat up. I know Stafford's coming back, but also Kyle Murray is back. And hopefully he is a talented kid. Hopefully he can squeak out some wins. This is an important one this week because the Cardinals don't have many um, games left that they could beat the opponent, and this
Yeah.
is one of them. So that's a big one. We need the Cardinals to win this week. So keep an eye on that one. All right, and then we also have. Let me see. There was the Carolina Panthers at Tennessee again. Carolina. The rest of their schedule is not good. There's not many teams they can beat Carolina. And you think going to Tennessee, they're not winning that game. Tennessee, not that great this year. All right. It is at Tennessee. Tough assignment, but still, this is a winnable game for them.
Yep.
So again, get your Carolina Panther pom-poms on, root for those suckers to pull in a big victory. And then, of course, the big game of the week. This is the Patriots Super Bowl. Okay. Remember, folks, not only do we need every loss, this basically would almost eliminate the Giants from being able to leapfrog us in the draft. Because if we lose to them, the Giants will have two more wins than us, and we have them in like the reverse
Tiebreaker.
tiebreaker.
Yep.
So even if we were to win two more games and tie them, we would still draft one spot better than them because they beat us.
Yep.
So this is a big one. I cannot believe I would ever say this in my lifetime. Go New York Giants against the New England Patriots. But like I said, death, taxes, and the Giants screwing us over. And it's probably going to happen. No, I don't hate a franchise more than I do the Giants after those two Super Bowls. And mark my words, they're probably going to come out like the Three Stooges this week and just fumble the ball all over the place, give it to us, and we're probably going to end up getting a win. I'm sorry to be so negative.
Hey, again, old Bull hitting on the very important games for us, and in a perfect world, all these teams, win except for us. But you know, Tommy DeVito is going to have a nice Italian Thanksgiving dinner, and we're going into his house playing, and he's going to have his TD chain on, and I think he's gonna school us just like they schooled the Commanders. Fingers crossed. All right, and you know, my dad mentioned those tiebreakers, right? And of course, the head-to-head is the biggest one. That's to determine if a team beat you, then you're going to draft below them or closer to the first pick. However you want to phrase that. Another really important one. Is the strength of schedule, right? And so the Patriots, going forward throughout the season, they need certain teams, all the teams that they've played against, they need those teams to lose to make their schedule look worse, thus making them look worse for having such a dog water record. So, real quick from the top, we didn't face either of these teams, so this one doesn't matter. The Commanders losing this game was super important, so it's very nice that for us right there. We're not going to face either of these two teams, so that game doesn't matter. Right here, this game, is kind of a wash. So, whichever loses, we're going to play both these guys. The Saints, we want the Saints to lose here. We did play the Saints this year, so a bad Saints record is good for us. We're going to play the Steelers, so them losing is good for us. So hopefully the Steelers lose. The Texans and Jaguars, this game does not matter to us. The Bucks and Colts, this is important to us. We want the Colts to lose. We want the Colts to look as bad as possible. Of course, my dad touched on these games. Broncos and Browns, we want the Broncos to lose here. And then, of course, we want the Broncos to beat us in Week 16 to, again, make us look worse. And Kansas City and the Raiders, this game's a wash. We've played both of these teams, so it doesn't matter whoever loses there. Then we have the Bills and Eagles. Again, really doesn't matter. Maybe since we played the Bills twice, there's some math there. Maybe we want the Bills to lose there. And plus, it's not bad to root against the Bills, so F the Bills. Chargers, we want the Chargers to lose here against the Ravens. And then, of course, that Bears game. So that's the, Tank Commander, Frank the Tank. It's really, really sad. And to be totally honest, if you had told my dad and I, 10 weeks ago, we'd be doing this segment, we'd be like, no freaking way. There's no way we're going to come back. So But that's the reality, Patriots fans. As tough as it is, we just gotta, swallow it and just, grit our teeth and just press forward. Not much we can do about it.
Tastes so good when it hits your lips.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Frank
Yeah.
the Tank. So now, again, I'm so depressed after that segment. We're gonna move into the Wilgs Basement Bets segment. Of course, Anthony Wilga. Last week he didn't get us a video. He apologized for that. He said he wouldn't let it happen again. So this week he has a video for us. So we're gonna cut to the video. I don't actually have it yet, but I'm gonna pester him like crazy to get it to me between now and I edit. So yeah, Dad, how did you do last week? I know you snooped.
Oh, he pushed. The Cardinals were getting 5. They lost by 5. Again, like kissing your aunt. It just nothing there. There's no good. Like,
Yeah.
yay. So
Yep.
you didn't win, you didn't lose either,
Yep.
So if you're dealing with a bookie, you lost your 10%. So
Yep.
not that anybody would do that, especially our
No,
viewers.
no, we don't
No,
condone
never,
illegal
never.
things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So now take us away, Anthony, with your video that I have not received yet, but I'm sure is gonna be great. So yeah, here we go.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another week of Wilgs Basement Bets. Pushed last week's lock with Cardinals +5. So we're going to be running it back this week. We got 2 plays today. One, top play, Jags -1.5 at the Texans. I think the Jags really coming around right now. I like them in this spot against the Texans, who just seem to keep on winning. At some point, I think they're going to come down a little bit, and I think that point is right now against the Jags. So I'm going to be lock of the week, Jags -1.5 at the Texans. One of my other plays is going to be Cardinals +1.5 versus the Rams. Again, Rams off a really big emotional win last week against the Seahawks. I really like the Cardinals here getting 1.5. I think they easily win. So you can either do money line or you can take that +1.5. So just 2 plays this week: Jags -1.5, Cardinals +1.5. Let's have a week and win some money.
All right, that's Wilkes Basement Bets. So fingers crossed he doesn't, get unlucky again. I think 2 or 3 weeks in a row here he just, ties or pushes or whatever the heck the betting lingo is, but I guess it is what it is, right?
Yep.
All right. So now we're going to move into, a very exciting segment. We're going to hit all the daytime TV shows here. This next one, we had Jeopardy last week. Go and check that out if you haven't. It was really fun with the old bull. This time, he's taken on the viewers. My 2 friends, Andrew Bailey and Tim Hilliard, both of them were up late, so they answered a couple questions for me. And I posed 5 questions to them, Price is Right style. If they go over, they lose automatically. So the goal is to go under and get as close to the correct number or exactly the correct number as possible. And the old bull has no idea what these questions are. These are Bruins statistics, Bruins specific. So if he's paying attention, keeping his ear to the ground on the Bruins, then he should have a good idea. Dad, how confident are you going into this?
Hockey numbers. I mean, I follow a little bit of stats. I'm not huge on them. I'm a
Yep.
big, hey, win guy. Just win at any cost. So, but drastically smarter than you when it comes to sports. So, I'll just let that
Yeah.
play out.
Listen, now you can be smarter than me, but you got to be smarter than Tim and Andrew here. So we'll see if you're smarter than Tim and Andrew. And they're already making jokes about one of the questions I asked because they both simultaneously made a prediction about what my dad's going to say. So I guess we'll jump right into the slideshow. Steven Viner.
Come on down.
Tim Hilliard.
Come on down.
Andrew Bailey.
Come on down. You are the first
3.
contestants on The Price is Right. Now, here is the star of The Price is Right.
Matthew MacArthur. All right, so here we go. Thanks to Google Slides, I was able to create this slideshow. Hidden right now are Tim and Andrew's answers, and then of course following that the correct answer. So my dad's gonna take these questions on. The first question is the Bruins goal differential for the season. Of course, that's going to be a whole number, somewhere in the negative, somewhere in the positive. So my dad's going to take a guess here. If he goes over, he loses automatically. If he's under and closer than Andrew and Tim, then he wins. He wins that round. Now, the one caveat, I'm giving my dad one phone a friend, so he's not going to know their answers until he answers, but he can play the phone a friend card and he can see Tim and Andrew's answers before answering one time, if that makes any sense. If it doesn't make sense, just wait. He'll use it, I'm sure, at some point in this, and then you'll get it. So, goal differential for the season. What do you think the Bruins are?
Oh God. So they played like 17 games. They've only lost one in regulation, three. I know they were like they weren't even at 40 goals given up. No, they're like over 3.5 a game. I'm gonna say 24.
24? All right, Andrew had plus 15. Tim had plus 24, so it's a push or a tie with Tim. The answer, 25. Andrew, what are you doing, man? You've watched every single game. Come on. Like, where's the faith? 15. Wait, I gotta double check. Was it really
Hey,
that bad?
damn! I was off by one.
All right, so
Nice.
you tie with Tim. That's a split. I gotta double check. He really said plus 15. Shame on you, Andrew. So next up,
Shame, shame,
yeah,
shame.
Pasternak total points. Who do you think? What do you think for Pasternak total points?
I know he's tied for second in the league. He's really close to 30. I'm gonna go
Remember, if you go over, you automatically lose.
20. Oh, damn. I'll go with 27.
27. Andrew had 26. Tim had 25. The answer? 29. The old bull gets the W.
That's all there is to it.
All right, Tim is 0, 1, and 1. The old bull is 1, 0, and 1, and Drew is 0 and 2. So we're gonna go on to the next thing. Swayman, goals against per game. What is this?
Oh, I know he's right around 2, if not below it. I'd say, oh wait, he gave up 5 flipping goals that really weren't his fault the other night. Oh, so I'm gonna say, I think he's under. I'm gonna say 1.99.
1.99. All right. Andrew, 1.9. Tim, 2.05. The answer? 2.09. Uh-oh. Tied up. Old Bull and
What?
Tim. Old Bull and Tim tied up. So let's see. Next up, Brandon Carlo, my dad's favorite defenseman. My dad wants to move him up to the first line, give him a big pay raise, get rid of McAvoy. What is Brandon Carlo's plus minus?
Oh, this bum. I know you're only putting it up there because it's good. You clearly wouldn't be because of my anti Brandon Carlo campaign.
No, I could be
I
reaffirming
really
something here.
don't.
I could be reaffirming something here.
No,
Maybe you're on to something.
I really don't know. I'm gonna say plus 12.
Plus 12. Okay. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's almost half of the Bruins plus. But Andrew had plus 7. Tim had plus 8. And the answer, plus 10. The oval went over. That is a loss for him. Tim is in the lead, 2, 1, and 1. Andrew, I love you. Okay, but you are an afterthought at this point. It's coming down to the. I think. And is this the final, or is this one? Is there one more? This is the final question. This comes down to the wire. McAvoy's time on ice per game. What is he at, Dad? What's your guess?
I'm gonna say he's can't go over. I'm gonna say 26.
26. All right, Andrew, 23. Tim, 24. The answer, 24-35.
Listen,
Oh,
all right,
man.
all right. I gotta call shenanigans here.
No,
He is
no.
way too close on all of his answers. All right,
So,
that's it.
so, so,
I'm
so,
throwing the red flag.
so
There's some
you're
Spygate
actually,
stuff going on here.
so you're gonna give Tim that, right? You're gonna say you are so good you have to be cheating. Is that what you're gonna say to Tim?
Yeah. I mean, oh
Wow.
my God. Has he been he's been like almost dead on every single one. I mean, unless he's studying Bruin stats every day, like he's got a spelling test tomorrow. Get out of here with that. 24.35. He picks 24.
You know what? So here's one thing.
He's
After like
calling
the
malarkey.
after like the third game of the season, Tim and I were hanging out, and he specifically said how frustrated he was by how many minutes McAvoy was playing, and how it's just not feasible for that to happen going forward. So Tim has been clued in on McAvoy pretty closely, and I think the old bull is just a sore loser. This is where my son gets it from right here. He's bitter. He's calling cheating. The young calf does not support or condone any defamation of character hereby experienced by Tim from the Old Bull's allegations. All legal cases submitted should be sent to the Old Bull directly and not the podcast. The Old Bull will plead insanity and or pay in Visa gift cards via settlement. Luckily, Jackson hasn't gotten to that
Yes.
phase yet, but
Yes.
congratulations, Tim. Andrew, I love you, and I thought you did way better than this, but turns out you did. You literally lost every single one. So
Congratulations, Tim. Cheaters never win. And you know what, Matt? You wanted to embarrass me last week? How about you do some Jeopardy? All right, let's see how you do. Okay, here we go.
yeah,
All right,
Jeopardy.
number
Okay,
one.
this is
All
spur
right.
of the moment. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm like caught off guard. I might not be good. No,
No, no,
let's
no,
see.
no.
Step up. Okay, I'm putting you on the spot here. All right. First question's always easy. This is for $100. This NBA team won the championship in 1945.
1945 championship. Uh,
Remember, it's easy. It's $100 one.
Boston Celtics.
Wrong. It's a trick question. The Celtics didn't come in the league till 46. Next question. Okay, number two. On the third play of the third game of the season in 2008, Tom Brady completed a pass to this player.
Third game. Is the do sound playing? Third game of the third play.
Not so easy, man, is it?
No,
Don't you be Googling that
no,
crap.
I'll
Don't
get
you
it.
be
I'll get it.
Googling it.
I'll get it. Third it was against Miami, right? It was against Miami. Tom Brady.
Don't you? No, I know you're cheating. You are absolutely cheating.
All right, next question. I'll say
Just like your
is it
friend.
Gaffney? Is it Gaffney?
Wrong. Trick question. He got injured for the year. He was out.
In the third game?
Bye-bye.
Oh,
You were wrong
freaking, it
on
was
that
Matt
one, too.
Castle. What am I doing here? Oh, goodness gracious.
All right, wrong. Anyway, number three. This player was 14th in scoring on the Bruins back in 1972.
Frick. I don't know. Jake DeBrusk's dad?
You're wrong. It's Tits McGee.
Channel 4 News with 5-time Emmy Award-winning anchor Ron Burgundy and Tits McGee.
Okay, 0 for 3. You suck.
Well, there you go, everybody. Trick question Jeopardy. I struggle with, and you know what I'm really curious about is the chicken scratch that's on that paper. Is there anything even on that paper, or is it just scribbles and you just making up things? It's your
This is
grocery
scientific
list.
stuff here. Your little brain cannot understand it.
Let me see it. Let me see the paper. Oh wow!
Sick
Look at that.
burn, as you kids say. Sick burn, as you kids say.
So
You and your cheating friend Tim.
listen, Tim. And Tim really appreciated the dunce cap. And I said, and when I said that Tim was shaking his head last week at you, when I said that Tim was shaking his head last week, he said you hit the nail on the head because I freaking was shaking my head at him. So, yeah, that was a really fun podcast as always. Thanks for anybody who got to the end. Pretty long. We got some editing to do, but I'm super thankful for anybody who took the time to listen. And any final thoughts, Dad?
Yeah, I've been trying to divide up the fans just in case you only like Bruins content, Celtics content. I'm giving you the time. You can just fast forward right to that. We'd love for you to listen, but we get it. Maybe you just like the Bruins. Fast forward to their segments. And remember, please share, share, share. We actually, I think, had like 6 shares. That's pretty good. If you guys ever get up to 20 shares on Facebook, again, I'll put up another gift card like I did the first one. So thank you for your support and happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving. And one thing we are thankful for are our viewers. And we do have a viewer mail this week sent in by somebody named Vinny. I think this Vinny's going to be much nicer to me. I hope. We shall see. Take it away, Vinny. What do you got for us?
Matt is a loser. He's a stinky chicken. He's a loser chicken.
Yeah, Vinny. Number one, your dad should not be recording you while driving. Okay. Stinky chicken. Stinky chicken. I should have. Listen, you sent that in just for I should have been a stinky turkey at a minimum, stinky turkey loser. But do appreciate the fan mail. Any thoughts on that? Nonsense, Dad.
He is very wise. He's like, a wise Buddha.
Yeah.
He just knows his stuff. He knows what he's talking about.
Listen,
Great
I'm
job,
like
Vinny.
I'm like 1 or 2 videos from just editing Steve over Matt and just and having Vinny rip into you. So he's gonna have to do something encrypted or something because or not let me get a hold of it before I edit. But yeah, thanks, Vinny. I hope everybody has a good rest of their weekend. Go Celtics, go Bees, go Tommy DeVito. Yeah. Later, guys. Bye bye.
Take care.